Okay, I would like to introduce our next speaker. Thank you, guys. Irena Martinez, who will talk to you about Lab to Market, which is also a course, a title for a course that I teach at the Sloan School of Management called Lab to Market the MIT Way. Irena is an MIT graduate who has had an incredibly interesting career already, and she's just starting. And she's powered by truly amazingly well-aligned values. And when I say well-aligned, I mean truly well-aligned, not aligned with someone else, just well-aligned with what is right and good. Okay, please come. Now, while you're setting up, let me just explain also that at Osmocosm, we believe that you are a very smart bunch to have come here. And that means that we're not afraid to have you, the audience, change gears and not only think about olfaction. So the next two talks will be a little bit of a palate cleanser because problems beyond olfaction exist, and we have all learned that we're pluripotent individuals, and having many projects in your head actually helps with solving any projects in your head because of idea cross-fertilization. So the next two talks are not going to be necessarily about olfaction, although they do touch upon it, but they're very important and interesting, so you should listen to them.
Thank you for that very kind introduction, Andreas. So yes, my name is Irena, and I am the Executive Director at MyCohab Austin. If you were around yesterday, I gave a talk a little bit about what we're doing there, but today is something different. But essentially, we're a nonprofit that aims to build dignified and self-funded mycelium homes with and for the unhoused community in Central Texas. As a native Austinite, I've always wanted to come home and give back to my community, and after honing my design skills at Samsung and IBM, I find myself just very lucky to be able to fulfill this dream. But that's not why I'm giving this talk today. So what is human-centered design? All of y'all are extraordinarily brilliant doing all this stuff in your labs, but when things come to market, we have to figure out how to do that, and this is one of those ways. So in the design world, you know, we can be a little bit pretentious, a little bit bougie, and this concept can be made to sound just so complex with so many devoted methods, workshops, consultants, seminars, conferences, you name it. Like, these things cost millions and millions of dollars sometimes. And you don't necessarily need all that. At the core of it, the idea is simple. Keep humans centered as you innovate. Of course, this is easier said than done, but this wheel from Dahlberg is a good starting point. Following this, we can make sure that we're designing with our users, with the people that we're trying to serve, not just for them. To kick off, you first need to understand your users' needs, then design for those needs, and finally engage them as you implement your ideas. Of course, you're already starting with this base technology and base idea that you're running with. You're like, hey, I think this technology is going to be able to do this. Hey, now we have some amount of functionality that we know that it's able to do this. This is just taking it that extra step to make sure, like, hey, what we have done is actually in line with, for example, with the work that y'all are doing, that, like, hey, the people who are experiencing epilepsy will actually know that they can read into these devices and that they can look at it and know what they're doing, like know what's being told to them. It's not only detecting it, they know it as well. And luckily, this whole wheel system and pretty much any design system you see is a cyclical process. We're always going to be iterating and adjusting in terms of technology. That's what we do. So regardless of where you're at, you can incorporate some of these elements. So let's begin with that first phase, that understand phase. How to align with your users' needs. First, like, maybe interview potential users. In the case of Stephanie and Phil's work that we saw earlier, they're working with people who have incontinence and maybe detecting those things. You can work with nurses, for example, and interview them. Be like, hey, how do you actually go about doing this in your day-to-day work? What is your system? What is your process? Next, like, observe behaviors and habits. Go around, like, you can go, in that same example, go to an assisted living home or to in person to someone and watch, see what people do, see like maybe probe it and ask some questions, but you can get firsthand experience kind of sitting in the back, being a fly on the wall. And third, maybe you can model your users' thought processes. You know, as scientists, we're always thinking in systems, right? So like being able to put that out and put that forward of like, hey, like our humans are doing things in this way. How do we fit into what they're already doing? And don't forget, you are not your user. At the end of the day, you want this to make a bigger impact than just you. So and when it comes to you, you cannot be unbiased when you're centering yourself in the design process. Think of yourself like you're a parent, you're watching your middle schooler play in the middle school band. You're always gonna think it sounds better than it does. And by thinking outside of yourself and understanding the humans you want to help, you can save valuable time and resources by making sure you know what problem or problems you specifically want to solve. Now that you kind of have a good grasp on your users, it's time to step up to design. With the understand phase in your back pocket, you continually can ground yourself as you progress and make sure that you clock any assumptions that you're making at any given point in time and validate them before you get in too deep. It can be really dangerous to have an assumption there that goes unchecked, because down the line you'll be like, hey, oh, whoops, that was wrong. And to better fit your solutions into people's lives, regularly ask for feedback on what you're doing, and if you can, get them involved really early. You can show them something as simple as like a Wizard of Oz kind of experiment. They did this with Alexa, where they literally had someone in a box responding to people as they came up and asked questions. No technology really had been done. It was something very, very simple, but it gave them a lot of information about how people would interact. Finally, remember, while you are all experts in feasibility and at times viability, so like if it's going to succeed in a business sense, real people can help pull you towards a greater desirability and greater usability of your work, helping you find that kind of balanced sweet spot in the middle of this trifecta of a successful product. Finally, it's time to engage your users. This step is especially worthwhile as 80% of usability problems can be found by just talking to 5 people. That's it, 5. We could probably find 5 people right now to kind of engage with in what we're doing. Some notes on this graph. This is actually like a legitimate research study that was done by one of the main fathers of design, Jacob Nielsen, and shows kind of how the relationship with the number of usability problems found in a usability test compared to the number of users that are interviewed. But yeah, so test and see if your users can actually use what you've made without your help, without any guidance from you or tutorials or any of that stuff. God knows there's so many tutorials out there. We don't need another one. We don't want another one. Reach out to the broader community. Like I love that y'all are already doing that with the epilepsy work that you're doing. Like reach out, like get their input. Like you're here as just amazing minds, and you have this technology to put forward. And by engaging and like bringing those people in, you can make a lot of progress. And finally, be open to making significant changes. We have a saying in the design world, it's like fail fast and iterate. Because you're not gonna get it right the first time. You probably won't get it right the second time either, but just keep going, do it as fast as you can. And learn your mistakes early and learn from them. Yeah, so as we said, it's a cyclical process. So understand, design, engage, do it again, as my silly little GIF is here, DJ Khaled, another one. Anyway, so key takeaway from this, if you take away absolutely nothing else, remember to center humans in your design. you have to develop with them and not just for them. Thanks. Here's some resources.
We have time for one question from the audience.
Oh my God, no.
We have to move on.
Sorry, that's.
I have a tough question, very difficult question. And I was reading a book written in 1978 of an artificial intelligence conference here at MIT. And the president of Atari came and gave a lecture. And he said, we've made amazing discoveries, implemented new technologies, and we did something with a device for doctors. We designed it so well, the results were great, but we couldn't get doctors to implement it. The same applies to lawyers, for instance. You know, no matter how good the technology is, my God, get a lawyer to do something new is very difficult. So how do you figure in the equation that you have provided to us the fact that implementation also may be a bigger part of the success of a project?
Yeah, absolutely, and it always is. A lot of it is like you have to find those areas in which people are open to you. There are so many, like, so for example, the work that I'm doing, we're working with the unhoused community with homelessness, and there's so much openness in there, and there's so much desire to continue to shift the system and change the system. You can't move people magically, but when they see things that are working in other spaces, and when you do manage to go into a part of, maybe there is a part of the medical system that is flexible, like with med students, for example, going in and making movement where things are flexible, bringing those people in who are interested in innovation, interested in trying something else because what they see isn't working, what they're doing isn't working. That is like a way to kind of break into some of these seemingly immovable areas.
Thank you again. I hope you all take note